Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar, our special invitation-only post-conference webinar with Mike Kowalski and Rick Brash. My name is Julie Robinson, and I'm going to be your moderator today. So, first thing I want to do is just do a little bit of housekeeping, making sure that I'm doing everything right here. You guys all have a little chat box over on the right side of your window. And if you guys could just punch in a little message there if you can see my screen and if you can hear me. That would be wonderful. And we'll see if we can get our other two going, and we'll get them started soon. So I'm here and seeing good. Yeah, all is good. Perfect. Thank you, everybody. So the first thing I'm going to say, again, welcome everybody to the call today. And if you guys, anybody signed up with us at the recent super conference a few weeks ago, and if for any reason you have not received a welcome package from us or information from us with emails, again, you can put in a chat or a question and we'll follow up with you separately. Or you can always give us a call at 1-800-858-8889. And I'm going to check in and see if our two superstars are here. Now, do I have Mr. Michael Kowalski?
I am here. Julie, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Just fantastic as well. Well, we had another great event in Anaheim a few weeks ago. Too bad, unfortunately, we come back to this nasty weather, but you know, there was a lot of excitement there, a lot of people pumped, and I'm really looking forward to this call. We've got some questions that well, the 5 most common questions that we've got answers for, but also we're really going to show you more than that, or answer those questions. We're going to really get into and show you some proven ads and scripts that really work with Rick, and a whole thought process of the prospects that come into your funnel. We've got a lot going on. So we also have a great demo. We're gonna also go through, and everyone's got a smartphone on the call today. You're going to need that if you want to participate in our demo. That will be done right near the end of the call, so we can show you how to get these meaningful conversations for your buyers. So, anyways. We are just about ready to go. Rick, are you there, buddy?
I am, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. How are you doing?
Well, pretty good, actually. Had a great super conference, like you said. I was just thinking when Julie said she wanted to introduce her 2 superstars, I was going to jump in and say, they couldn't make it, so you and me are here, Mike.
By default. How's the weather in AZ?
It's hot and dry. A little breezy today, but it's beautiful. I'm in Phoenix. It's gorgeous.
Well, that's great. Great. Well, Rick, we got a lot of content to cover here. We've got these 5 questions, like you said, that are common. We're gonna go through these and in detail and really take you through the whole thought process and the hotline technology. Why don't we get in to the first question? And everyone asks me, well, why do I need a hotline, Mike? And you know, what are the benefits of it for the prospects as well as the agent? Why don't you get started on that, Rick?
Hey, that's a great question. And this is a question we hear all the time, you know, post-super conference. Okay, we saw the presentation. We like the lead generation. We understand the use of technology. Now, do I really need this hotline thing? And, of course, my answer, because I am such a believer in this technology, is without question. You should have at least one hotline working in your business to help nurture and create those relationships with prospects. Think about it this way. We do all we can to get a prospect to react to the marketing that we run. We call it direct response marketing. In the marketing piece, if you're doing this correctly, you give the prospect specific instructions on what to do to get what it is we're offering. Now, for those of you that are not doing this yet, who are just getting started with our program, let's use an example. Let's use either a buyer example or a seller example. Either one doesn't matter to me. Let's use a buyer example. You'd like to create some working relationships with a couple of ready-to-buy, ready-to-go, earnestly looking home buyers. You run an ad that simply offers a list of properties that matches the #1 selling trend where you are. Let's say you want to build on this whole HGTV type phenomenon that's going on everywhere in North America. All weekend long, the HGTV television shows are what? Find them, fix them, and flip them. So as I've said for years, every agent worth his salt should be running the Fixer-Upper campaign. So you run that campaign. You might run it in a local magazine. You might run it in the real estate section of your local newspaper. You might run it as a display ad. You might run it on Facebook. Wherever prospects are, you run the ad, and in the ad, you tell the prospect that if they'd like to access or order their free list of Fixer-Upper properties, simply call the 1-800 number, kick in the 4-digit ID code, listen to the pre-recorded script, and tell us where to send your list. Now think about this for a minute. The message is pre-recorded. It would simply mirror what you would say if you got the prospect on the telephone. If you took the call on your cell phone or at your desk in the office, it would simply mirror what you would say. And by the way, I'm not saying replace you. I'm not saying replace that call to your office. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is from the less branded perspective, where you aren't set up as the gatekeeper for this information, put your hotline in the ad. Let the prospect call. Let them listen to the compelling message that makes 100% relevant sense for the campaign in question. Let them, at the end of the message, tell you what they're looking for. Now you have a captured prospect in your voicemail system. All you have to do is fulfill the request, send the list over, and then follow up that prospect with a phone call. Use the universal callback script, and if they're a good buyer with good close timing and real motivation that enables them to buy a home, you've now got another face-to-face meeting. And think about that. That's what the hotline does for you. It answers the call. It makes a compelling message. It does it over and over and over again. The system that Mike uses is always on. In all the years I've worked with you, Mike, we've never had technical problems where our lines weren't answered. And the rinse and repeat scenario takes over. Our job as good marketers is to simply drive the traffic to the hotline. And if your message is relevant, if your medium to introduce the message is relevant, and if you've got a ready-to-go market you're talking to, when those three things come together, the byproduct is calls into your hotline. And that's why everybody needs to have the hotline. So if you can copy this proven successful formula, results similar to what Craig and his most successful guys are attainable. And when you become a great marketer, it means you get to stop doing the things that don't create leads. Okay, it's very important. We just want you to create leads. The purpose of marketing is to create leads, first and foremost, on the QL system. So let your marketing reflect local trends, use the correct and distinct call to action, and drive traffic to your hotline. And if you don't have one, you need to call these guys at AMS. You need to chat with Julie. You need to talk with Amy and get a hotline working in your business.
So Rick,
hope that answered your question, Mike.
Yeah, just to kind of summarize what you just said, and really good points. The benefit of a hotline to the agent, it really gives them structure to their life and really eliminate any constant interruptions they have, people calling them, paging them, phoning them, and really qualify, really has the ability to screen out the poorly qualified and unmotivated kind of tire kickers, we call them.
Sure.
And really will sort of pre-qualify the good prospects into your funnel, so you're not always, chained to your cell phone or your pagers. That's really a real good benefit, I feel, to the agent. Now, to the prospect, I mean, for the prospect, it's easy and non-threatening for the prospect to get that information 24/7. And we know by our stats, Rick, that you're likely to generate more than 3 times the amount of calls by calling an 800 pre-recorded message. So
sure.
that is another
The key here for the prospect to really work on is the fact it's pre-recorded. And a lot of times you'll see our member put right in the ad, talk to no agent. Well, why does that work, Mike? The reason it works is the typical prospect is not out there looking for an agent. Now, this is a really important factor you want to build into your business model. The typical prospect who's thinking of buying or selling in the next 90 days does not start the process by seeking out an agent. They go looking for answers to their questions, and they'd rather not deal with a pesky agent. Like it or lump it, we're not the best, most loved breed in town. So if we can go at this lead generation thing from the less branded perspective, where our marketing is not agent-centric, like you just said, Mike, we create more leads that way than we do from the call me, I'm the area specialist type marketing. And when you look at the Quantum Leap system, when you're really clear on the framework of Craig's system, the first box in that system is what? Become a good lead generator. The second box is sift and sort the leads. And we do that with some technology. And the technology we're talking about today is the hotline. Now, what if at the end of every script, of every message that a prospect hears, you give them a choice for report 1 or report 2 based on their time frame for moving? You see, you start the process of sifting through your prospects. If you say to people, if you're thinking of moving in the next 3 months, please ask for report number 1. Or if you're thinking of moving in longer than 3 months, please ask for report number 2. You've also got a sense now about timing. And it also tells us which one of those prospects, those leads generated, is the priority. And I'd be calling back all my report number 1s first. Oh, and in case you're wondering, there is no difference in the report. The report is the same. We simply prioritize the lead based on their project of buying or selling. So good stuff, Mike. Really good stuff.
It is, which kind of ties us into the next question, which is a biggie. We get this all the time, Rick. You know, we have, as you know, we have 2 hotlines, and you know, what is the difference between the 2 type of hotlines, and do they need both? And you know, we got the information line, which is the less branded line, which flies under the prospect's radar, using Craig's editorial style ads and classified. And then we have the property tree, which is more of the branded style hotline, which is using your USP ads and your property ads as well. So let's get in. They both have, you know, they both have 2 separate jobs to do, Rick. And why don't we start on how you use the information line first, the less branded approach in your business.
All right, so like Mike said, the information line is the less branded version of the hotline technology. For those of you who were at the Super Conference, this was the first line that Craig showed you that he mastered in his business. So on the information line, the number is offered in the ad, and we do everything we can to drive traffic to the ad. Once they get there, the first thing the caller hears is the intro, and the intro is also less branded. In fact, the introduction that comes as a default with the information line from AMS is Tammy Johnson, who's been with Craig for 20 years, and she simply says, "Thank you for calling the Real Estate Information Hotline. Please key in your 4-digit code now." That's the entire introduction. No commercials, no agent name, no broker, nothing. That's what they hear. The code is kicked in, and then the script that we've chosen from the pre-recorded script library, hope you heard that, pre-recorded script library, all you have to do is flip this on. It's all done for you. You don't have to record anything. You don't have to change voices. You don't have to write anything. It's all done for you. The prospect hears the script from the pre-recorded script library, and we tell them what to do to get the report they've called on. Okay, really simple. Now, the USP property tree is a little different in its format, but the information line is great for pure, unadulterated, less branded lead generation. Okay, it's not even about the agent when they call. Now, the USP property tree is a little bit different. Same story. we would put the USP property tree in an ad that features one of our listings. Or you may put it on your for sale sign. The USP property tree works with exactly what it says, properties. We drive the traffic to the system. The first thing the caller hears is our introduction. Now, the introduction should be done by the rainmaker. So if you are the owner of this property tree, you should do the introduction. And in the introduction, there's a couple of choices you can make. You can choose to run a little commercial for one of the distinct USPs that sets you apart in the marketplace. That would be a single-digit code, 1 through 9, that the prospect can kick on and listen to. So for example, if you were to listen to my USP property tree introduction, I only make mention of one USP, and that's my buyback guarantee. If you'd like more information on how our buyback guarantee works and how you're fully protected for the first 2 years of home ownership, please press 2. And then they would hear a script that we've created about our buyback guarantee. Okay, once they've heard that, then we tell the prospect to kick in the 4-digit ID code that works in conjunction with the listing that they have called about, and then they hear the property script. So there it is. So there's sort of the format of how the USP property tree works. Now, on the USP property tree, Mike, you've set it up so that if a prospect is sitting with my ad in Homes and Lands magazine, or is sitting with my full-page ad in the real estate newspaper, and I've got 30 listings in my ad, they can go from 4-digit code to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, and hear different things about our different properties. On the information line, they get to kick a 4-digit ID code in once, and then it's over. So it's 2 completely different formats, but both have been tested and proven, and this is the format that works the best. And of course, the lead gets generated, and if they want to talk to me, we tell them at any time, if you press 0, you'll be connected to my office. Now, frankly, that's what I want to happen. I would prefer it if I could get as many of those zeros as I could during the day, because I don't mind talking to people, especially the ready-to-go buyer or seller. I need to have that immediate conversation with them, but not everybody does it. So we've got a pretty good format that at the end generates the leads. So that's the difference between the two. And if you have listings, if you are a lister, if you're carrying an inventory of listings, and you don't have a USP property tree, I'll just tell you, you are missing out on a lot of leads. Because people will call and listen to a pre-recorded message about your listing, a lot sooner than they will call and talk to you. So just copy this model. Just copy what's going on. Run the marketing so that it makes total sense. Drive the traffic to the hotline, and you'll quickly see that generating leads with this technology isn't all that different or all that difficult.
So Rick, really both hotlines are designed really to accomplish the same thing, and that's to get the prospect to leave a trail and to help them qualify the leads that come in.
Correct.
And a couple of other features that before we move on to the next question, that really is important is that we also provide the name and address of each prospect that comes into the hotline, whether they leave a message or not. So we give you a report, the name, the address, and the phone number, the caller line ID of every call that comes into your hotline. And any messages that are sent or even listened to can be alerted or notified to your email or your smartphone. So immediately you'll know that a lead has come in. So we're going to actually do a scenario in our demo. I'm really going to show you how this all works in the eyes of the prospect and the agent. Right. Someone driving by the home with their smartphone, looking at the property, want more information. We're going to actually show you exactly how this all works later in this call, on this webinar, and you can also participate to really see for yourself how it works.
So in a practical sense, let me just give everybody some practical examples of where to use your hotline. And I know most of you on the call today now are doing this or are learning to do this type of marketing. So these top 2 ads with all the copy and all the text are what we call editorial style ads. You would run those out in the main part of the newspaper. You'd create the ad so it looks like an article, But in the ad, you simply offer to send over the report you've promised. The one on the top left would be the report on the 6 costly mistakes to avoid when you buy a home. Or for sellers, we'd send a report over that outlines the 11 critical home inspection traps to avoid. And there it is in the blue. We tell people how to get the report. Okay? Call the toll-free number, kick in the 4-digit code, and boom, excuse me, we'll send over the report. So, excuse me, sorry, Mike. So that's the less branded information line. We'd use that for this. For your listings, here's an example of one of my listings ads. You'll notice it's a double-page spread in a local magazine. It's full of listings, and here's how I feature my listings. Each listing is done like this: a picture, a subdivision, a price, a quick little headline to grab the attention of the reader, a little bit of a blurb or a caption that just, briefly, emotionally describes the property without giving any, anything to eliminate it. And then I drive people right into my hotline. If you want more information or a color brochure, just call, listen, and order here. Quick, pre-recorded message. And it works over and over and over again. And it's not about me. They hear my voice. They hear my brief commercial when they call in, but it's not overwhelming. It doesn't scare them away. They simply say, we'd like the fully loaded feature sheet on that property in Cranston for $649. Could you please send that over? And I ask for the big 5: name, 2 phone numbers, address, and email. I always try and get an address from somebody because I personally would rather mail something than send it through an email. And the hotline just gets a call when normally you wouldn't get a call. So, excuse me, here's my just listed sign. Everybody that works on my team carries this around in their car. Excuse me again. And when we list a house, we leave this behind the night we list a house on the front lawn. And notice what we're trying to do. Just drive people into the hotline to hear a message about this newly listed property. Excuse me again. And this is just our USP property tree that we feature absolutely everywhere that we're doing business. And so here's an example, another example of one of our listings ad. This would be in the real estate newspaper here in Calgary, where I'm from. And again, you'll notice we just shove people into that hotline every chance that we get. Mike, it's amazing when we look at our report on calls that are coming in. It's kind of amazing when people call. They call it, 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. I often tell this funny story. We got a call from someone, and we follow up on every call that comes into our hotline. A few years ago, we got a call, and it came, quite late at night, and we kept trying to return the call, and it turns out we were calling a phone that did not accept calls. So that's a phone booth. Somebody called my hotline, requested information on one of our listings from a phone booth, and we weren't not able to get them back. So we kind of forgot about that. A few weeks later, we got a call into the office from somebody asking for information on that same listing. And I think it was Stacy on my team who got into a conversation with this person, and it turns out, believe it or not, they had called us from the payphone in the prison. I know it's kind of funny. They called us from prison. They were getting out, and they wanted to start the process of buying a home. So the hotline even gets me convicts, Mike, of people from those kinds of people that want to buy a house. And I always laugh about that, but it's quite true. But if you do this, if you put your hotline in absolutely everything you do, you'll be surprised at how many calls you generate into your hotline system over and over and over again, every single day. I generate thousands of calls in a month into my hotline just because it's where people see it.
Cool. And that, if you go back to that screen for a minute, Rick, we found just by, in brackets on the right side, that ad in the bottom with the 800 number and ID 2371, by just adding the quick pre-recorded message in brackets under it, bumps up response tremendously.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to the next question, and it's all about scripting, Rick, and marketing scripts. And what are the key elements everyone should pay attention to when it comes to create marketing scripts or property scripts? And I know you're a master of scripting and conversion. I know Craig provides them. It's all preloaded, all pre-done for them in the library. But there is property scripts that you need to record. let's get into how you made millions, Rick, in mastering the scripting of properties, the tonality, the length of the message, making it not too salesy, and how you, tested using a female and a male, and what jackpot did you find doing it?
Okay, all that stuff matters. It all matters. Now, if you're going to embrace this tool, you're going to spend some time playing with it, practicing, testing. That's the first thing you want to do. You want to practice, test, and look at your data. Second thing you want to do is be very aware of the prospects that you want to talk to. And over the years, we've had to change up our scripting. We've had to make some changes over the years, and not just once. The last 2 years, I would say, using this tool to its fullest, we have found that the shorter scripts are more effective than the longer scripts. All of you who were at the Super Conference in Anaheim came home with a whole bunch of scripts in your binder. And you'll find that generally the format of those scripts is dead on. It's the right thing. An introduction, an emotional body, and a strong call to action to get the information. But you'll also find that some of the original scripts that we work with in Craig's organization were just, for today's, prospect, are just a little on the long side. So over the years, we've shortened them up a little bit. We've been a little bit more direct with what we tell people. And we're very, very direct on telling people how to get the information, the more information that they want. The best voice, the voice that got me the most messages over the years was a female voice with a lot of D in the tonality. And anybody that's come and worked with us, Mike, over the years, one of the requirements of working with our team was you had to read a script into the computer. We had to test your voice. We had to know your personality type. We had to test your voice, because I was always looking for the secret weapon voice. And it turned out that my wife, Carol, who many of you have met at the Super Conference or know, because she generally answers the phone or handles a lot of my email, turned out that she had the best voice, and we tested. I tested my sons. I tested Stacy on my team. I tested all the girls that have worked for me over the years, because hands down, the female voice is less threatening and it's easier to deal with. Tested everybody. And Carol just had the right voice over the years, so she's been sort of the voice of the house calls group, and she continues to record all of our scripts, and she has, and she will continue to do that, because her voice is it's just been perfect. And even though I'm relatively articulate and can get the point across, the female voice just seems to work better. I always say, when you read and record your script, make sure you have a smile on your face. Make sure you have some D in your personality, and make sure you can be aggressive and strong without being overpowering and overbearing. And Carol just does that naturally. So that's some of the things we've learned over the years, and this is practice. It's just practice, that's all. You'll create a script, you'll make it go live, you'll look at the results, you'll recreate that same script, go live with it again, and you'll see differences in the message left rate. And you just want to keep practicing until you get really good at creating scripts.
And, Rick, I just want to add, for the people that don't feel comfortable recording their own property listing scripts, we have that available in-house. So, male and female, if you don't feel comfortable, just call us, deliver the script to us, and we'll kindly, record that script for you. So we've been doing it for years, and, there's a lot of people that don't have that comfort level in recording. So,
well, the other thing we should mention too, Mike, is when you create a script for a listing, be very careful not to overdo it. The purpose of your script is not to disseminate information about the property. Now, that's a shock when I say that. That's not the reason you record a script. You record a script to simply whet the listener's appetite for more information, okay? And you do that emotionally. And at the end of that 2 or 3 caption little script, maybe a minute or less, you simply tell the prospect how to get all the pertinent information, including pictures, addresses, and details, and tell us where to send it. That's the purpose of your hotline script. A lot of you fall into the trap of just, laundry listing all the features of this property, the hardwood floors and the granite countertops and the beautiful new lighting and the $100,000. Wrong. Totally wrong. You want to draw a quick emotional grab of that prospect in, give them 1 or 2 points that they're definitely looking for, and then tell them how to get all the information. It takes a little bit of practice for sure. On the screen, here's a list of all the scripts at the top that come with the information line. So now we've got subsequent marketing campaigns that work with all those scripts, 1,000 through 25 on the left and 40 through 51 on the right in the information hotline. They're done for you. All you have to do is run the ad, go into your control panel, flip this script into the mailbox that you've chosen, and go to work. On the Property Tree hotline, we have all the pre-recorded USP scripts at your disposal. And there they are right there. And you just have to go in and enable them or disable them. You can't use 9, that's too many. You might use 1, you might use 2. All you have to do is go in, flip it into the mailbox, and you're good to go. But we don't want you to think that you take our technology and you have to completely re-record everything. That would be a complete mistake we've made today if that's what you think. Most of the script writing is done, or script recording is already pre-done for you. In the instance where a property script needs to be recorded, we've even given you a format to help you create that property script. So we're trying like crazy here to give you as much of this as we can, with you having to do just a tiny little bit of it.
Rick, I just want to add that we do give you, for each hotline, 1,000 mailboxes, so 1,000 different IDs. So if you wanted to test multiple publications for a certain campaign, all you need to do is copy one of those scripts into another number, 4-digit ID, where you can track the effectiveness of that campaign and that publication. So there's no extra cost. We provide you with 1,000, more than enough, and it's the same script, it's a different ID. So when calls come in and you go in to look at your reports that you generated, then this will tell you exactly where the lead came from as well.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, 1,000 mailboxes, that's a lot. Like even if you have 100 listings, it's pretty hard to use up 1,000 mailboxes. So it's more than enough for sure.
Cool, which leads us right into the next question about, how do these various reports that we have help members really understand the effectiveness of their marketing and really track their return on investment? So, this is a biggie for me, Rick. I'm always about tracking and measuring everything we spend in advertising, because if you can't track and test your marketing, it's really complete, in my opinion, a waste of time and money for you.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
We have a website portal you can go to. Maybe, Julie, you can type it in to the side panel. It's called trackmyqlleads.com. So trackmyqlleads.com. This is where you go in and you could log in with your customer ID and your password that we provide you when you sign up. And we have various type of reports that really will help you determine the hot leads, and we've got some summary report, we've got a detailed report. Again, we put in the color line ID, the name, the area, the address of where the prospect came in from, the number of calls. So a lot of great reports for you to go through to really see what is really hot for you in your marketing. Rick,
right?
Do you want to add anything to how you use reports and how that works out for you?
Well, I think you're on the right track here, Mike. We want everybody to know that with your marketing, tracking the data is just as important as running the marketing piece itself. So in the back end, in the background, you get access to every piece of data, every byte of data that's created every time somebody calls your number. Who called, when they called, what they listened to, how long they listened, et cetera, et cetera. And then Mike takes that information, they extrapolate the data from the number, and they tell you who they are, where they live, all that kind of jazz. And so on the screen, here's just an example. So the top picture there shows you sort of a summary of who's called in this case, to this number, top left-hand corner, 888-700-0165. Gives us a summary of who's called in. And then below that, because we've chosen that one number, the 770-433-8211 number, notice the information that it gives us about that specific call. It tells us when, it tells us what they listened to, how long they listened to it, and it tells us which script they actually left the message on. So there's oodles of data in the back end. And I always say, and for those of you working with me, you know what I'm telling you, you check your data for calls generated every Friday morning. And if you don't do it Friday, do it Tuesday. If you don't do it Tuesday, do it Monday. But once a week, you need to get into your LMS, your lead management software at the AMS site, and you need to go through, as boring and as tedious as this may sound, you need to go through the traffic you've generated into your hotline. If you'd like to know how well your ads and the medium insertion points you've chosen to run your ads in are performing, this is where you go. You don't just look at leads in the inbox. You look at how many calls, what they're listening to, how long they're listening to it. It's interesting. You might record a script on a property, and you go in and you realize that over the weekend, 13 people called and listened to your script, and 80% of them only listened to the first 40 seconds. Between the 40th and the 45th second, everybody clicked out and went to another one. What does that tell you? It tells you something happened at section 40, at second 40 of your script. You can go in there, you can listen to it yourself, and you can fix it, or you can change it, or you can shorten it. And that's the type of data that's available to you here with AMS. And then ultimately, you take all that data, you boil it down, and you look at leads generated. And let's be really clear here. A lead on the hotline is that person who's called, listened to a script, and has been compelled to the point of leaving you a message. That's the whole purpose for this exercise. How many messages left? Okay, really simple.
That's a good point you made about using this tool, Rick, to really track a certain script. And I find a lot of people that mention the price of a property in the script is usually where a lot of people hang up.
Yep.
And, you know, this reporting system will actually show you exactly.
Correct.
And as Rick mentioned, that's where you could come and really tweak that part of the script. And more importantly, if they chose to, you know, if you gave a multiple offer in the script on that property for like a different USP, it would also track what USP or what digit they selected in the property script. So you really get the thought process of the prospect, what they were experiencing through your tree hotline.
Yeah.
You know exactly what they're looking for.
And that's what you want. You want to know how your ads are performing. And you don't just want to know this week. You don't just want to know this week because you got a session scheduled with your coach on Thursday. No, you want to know this all the time. If you would like to understand the things that have a direct correlation with your bank account, then be really familiar with the data that's being generated because you're running marketing. Mike and I are well informed by some of the greatest marketers in the world, not just real estate, some of the best marketers in existence. And they constantly track the data that they create with their marketing. And we want to give you guys the tools so you can do the same thing for the sole purpose of just getting better at it. You know, if you see a trend in your calls on your hotline, you can quickly build on that trend or you can quickly get rid of that trend. Hey, it's like this. You take a listing, and every time an agent shows it, you ask the agent for feedback. And let's say 10 agents show your listing over the weekend, and they all give you the same feedback. Geez, Rick, we love the house, but we walked into that family room, and the overwhelming stink from the carpet just turned my buyers off. Well, if 10 people tell you that, what's your conversation with the seller going to be? Hi, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm coming over. We got to talk about that carpet in the family room. Well, guess what? There's data. There's data that the showing agents have given you. Well, here's the data that the hotline gives you about your marketing. And when you've got good data and it's making sense and it's right there in black and white, you can make changes for the good. And that's what we want you to learn how to do. Very, very important.
Well, the fifth question, the last question we're going to answer, Rick, and then we're going to get into other questions that the people on the call have, is all about conversion, you know, and they want us to share what you do when it comes to conversion. If I just wanted to step back and just review quickly the process, the marketing process we just described is, we ran the ad, we captured the lead on the hotline message, you were notified by an email or text that you got this message, and now you need to do one or two things. Well, obviously the dial 0 and it gets you live, that's probably the grade A lead that you want to talk to that person immediately, or follow up within, a period of time. So conversion, the money's in the follow-up. Rick, why don't you talk about what you do, what successful agents do, once these leads are now generated, whether it's through a dial 0 or notified of a lead.
Okay, so this is as complicated an answer as it can be simple. I do what Craig taught me to do, and everybody needs to write that in their notes. If you want to get good at conversion, do what Craig and James teach you on the Thursday conversion call or the Thursday conversion webinar. And secondly, learn the universal callback script, because that is our #1 ally when it comes to creating face-to-face meetings with these leads that have been generated. You have to get into a meaningful, fact-building conversation with these prospects. And that conversation is not about the sports team. It's not about the crappy weather we were having. It's not about the rain or the market. It's about getting the prospect on the phone, gaining an intimate but very clear and concise understanding of their timing and of their motivation, and making the appointment with that prospect. That's what I got really good at. And when I first found Craig in this program, I was no good at it. I was a cold call cowboy, and I was taught all the cold calling techniques about building rapport and sounding like a smart guy and having all the knowledge. Completely wrong. Doesn't matter. They just don't care. You know what they want to know? What's in it for me? So once I know timing, once I'm clear on motivation, I can make an offer for the prospect who's left a message on my hotline that is 100% relevant to their project. Buyer or seller, it doesn't matter. The two offers in a universal callback script that you should be learning, memorizing, and mastering are the right offers to make. You tell a buyer, it's easy. We can set you up with a daily email that features all the homes for sale that match exactly what you're listing for. We'll even include some of the distressed sale properties. We can throw in foreclosures. We can get company-owned properties. I offer to throw in abandoned properties. The best deals locally. We'll make sure you get them the instant the properties hit the market. Would that interest you in your search for a new home? It's always yes. It's always yes, because it's the best universal offer you can make. For a seller, usually a seller has begun the process because they want to sell, and they're just on an information fact-finding mission. But ultimately, what do they need to know? They need to know how their neighborhood's performing, how their home will stack up against other properties in the neighborhood, and how much is their home worth. So we make the offer of the CMA along with all those other things in the universal callback script, and we make it really good. And we make it so that the prospect has a tough time saying no because it's so relevant to their project. Now, I don't make it to everybody. For people that aren't ready to go, for people that aren't going to be selling in the next little while, no point in me going over today or tomorrow because they're not selling for 6 months. But the point is, the universal callback script is so strong in allowing us to figure out timing and motivation that I can make the offer to those people that are ready to go now. Now, the MIT lead study that I have on the screen is something everybody should know. This is critical mass in your conversion efforts. MIT lead study clearly states that if you can get back to a newly created lead within 5 minutes of the lead being created, look at the chance you have of doing business with that prospect. Okay? Look at the chance you have. Look at the 10-minute mark. It's an 80% chance that you won't get the prospect on the phone if you let it go to 10 minutes. Okay, this is real. Everybody needs to get this. You need to get back to your prospects with the universal callback script as quickly as physically possible and within 5 minutes if you can. If you need those leads to turn into commission dollars in the next 30 days, then pay very close attention to this graph. And if you don't have this from your coach, you send me an email, rick@craigproctor.com, and I'll make sure you have a copy of the MIT lead study so it's clear in your mind how important it is that you get back to the prospects immediately. Because you want to have that very meaningful conversation with them, that powerful conversion conversation as close to now as possible. Don't sit around and wait. Don't sit there and say to yourself, well, I don't want them to think I'm desperate because I call back right away. Wrong thinking. The MIT lead study clearly shows you that if you get back to them within 5 minutes, you have a much better chance of creating that ultimate face-to-face meeting with them. And we have our most successful members who have inside sales teams will tell you that they turn an ad on only when their inside salespeople are available to make the call. A lot of our members utilize a part-time scenario for inside sales, but most of them have inside sales teams that work on weekends because that's a great time to generate leads. So some of them will turn an ad on in Facebook, and the ad will generate leads, and our members' inside sales team is required to call that lead back immediately once it's created. So I want everybody to understand the value of getting back to those people absolutely immediately. And the reason, simply put, the reason is to get into a conversation. And we call it a meaningful conversation. There's different kinds of conversations. There's those ones that are all fluff with no meat. That's kind of the typical real estate conversation. But you want to get on a fact-finding mission. Timing, motivation, make the appropriate offer, and get off the phone. And that's what we want to teach you how to do.
Rick, I promised everyone on the call that we're going to participate in a live and interactive demo. So everyone's going to need to have their smartphone in front of them. And for the people that don't, that are not on the webinar screen, we'll give you the number and the 4-digit ID to call in. Rick, if you just want to go back to the other screen and just set the scenario up of a prospect, yeah, just go through that scenario before we start.
Let's go through this. Now, I'm assuming that most of you are using the property tree in your business, okay? If you have listings, I'm assuming that most of you drive as much traffic to your property tree hotline as you can. Now, when they get there, there's a few things happen. First thing is they hear your message. They are directed to either press a single-digit code to listen to your USP message, or they're directed to kick in a 4-digit code and end up listening to the property script in question that initially grabbed their attention. Maybe it's off of your for sale sign. Maybe they're literally driving down the street on Sunday afternoon looking for houses in that subdivision where you have a listing, and either beside your for sale sign or on your for sale sign, you've made access to your hotline available. Okay? So they dial the number. They're sitting out front. They're dialing the number because it's pre-recorded and they don't have to talk to an agent. They listen to the script, and, you know, it's not perfect, and they end up not leaving a message. Or even if they do leave a message, here's what happens. But let's just say they don't leave a message. So in our world, Mike and I refer to that as a hang-up, a hotline hang-up. And by the way, there's fortunes to be made in hotline hang-ups, but that's another discussion. So the call is in. Nothing happens with the prospect. They hang up the phone. Okay? Well, in the old days, that was kind of the end of it. When I started to work with your technology, Mike, that was kind of the end of it. What would happen now is when I came into work the next morning, I'd pull off my hotline calls, and I'd see a collection of hotline hang-ups. And if at the end of the day of calling back on the messaged leads, we'd start to call back the hang-ups, and it was as close to cold calling as it gets. Well, what happens now is Mike has introduced a new system that everybody should be taking advantage of, because the minute they hang up, they get a text message sent back to their smartphone. Are you with me? And the text message comes from you. You've set this up so that every time somebody calls your hotline with a smartphone that's mobile, they get a text message that comes back to them. And in the text message, you'll notice, there is a link. And all they have to do on a smartphone, like an iPhone or a Note or a Samsung or whatever that has a screen, all they have to do is touch the link. And the link takes them to a completely mobile optimized landing page. And there's what they look like. Now we have a couple of versions of these landing pages that have been built. Jim Casey, a good friend of ours that many of you know, did a version of these. And I did a version of these. Now we built these, Mike and I, about 3.5, 4 years ago when all of this was starting to take shape. So we've worked this and worked this. We've tweaked it. We've adjusted it. We've made some changes here and there to the point where now it works absolutely perfect. Now here's the benefit. They didn't leave a message. In turn, we sent them a link that brings them back to us for a second kick at the cat. They get this website on their phone. They have the choice of watching and listening to a video or putting in some information about the report we've offered from the optimized mobile site on the phone. So it's a pretty long trail that they're now on, which ultimately is going to create yet another lead from somebody who actually hung up the phone because what they heard wasn't compelling enough for them to leave a message. And all I can say, Mike, is this is ingenious. Absolutely ingenious. And I've used it for...
Go back to the screen where we have this demo number. Anyone on this call today that has a smartphone can call this number, 1-888-471-4953. When they hear the introduction script, type in 1013. You don't need to listen to the whole script. Just hang up after you hear a few lines of it. And then immediately we should be able, I mean, again, you are the prospect, so you'll see exactly what the prospect is going to get. And then you should get an SMS text with a customized link in there. Now, it doesn't have to be our pages. It could be another web page you already have that you can link them to, or a USP, and that's where that second opportunity they can have a click to call where they can still dial you to have that meaningful conversation. Now, again, you don't need to stay on the script long. Just dial 1013 and just wait, and you should get a text, assuming that you're not blocking your caller line ID. So anyone on the call that has a smartphone can do that now and actually see what is going on. Now, Rick, if you can go to the other screen of what the actual agent, that's the prospect. Are we missing the one that shows what the agent gets? No, it's not in there. Yeah, we're missing that. So anyway, there is a slide here that we had that showed the actual lead to the agent, where immediately it will text you the lead, the caller line ID, and that they're actually either leaving a message or hanging up from your hotline script. So unfortunately, we don't have that on this call, but we
okay, so I've just done it with everybody else. It's working perfectly. I click on the link that's in the text, and boom, the page comes up. Everything's working as it should. Now you just have to imagine that this is your system that you've sent to this prospect. You haven't met them. They're a complete stranger. They're running around the neighborhood on a Sunday or a Saturday or a week looking for houses, and they're doing all this stuff behind the scenes so that they can tell you who they are. Now, some of you are thinking, if I take this, do I have to record all these videos? The answer is no. We've done a few sets of the videos that work in conjunction with the 8 or 9 campaigns that we've created. It's all done for you. They're generic. They work. They'll create the lead. All you really need to do is implement this in your lead generation and hotline strategy that works in conjunction with your marketing. It's kind of a no-brainer. I think, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer. Just take advantage of everything that's here and get it working. Like, why wouldn't you is the real question.
Okay, Rick, it's time for us now to take questions from the people on this call. Julie, I don't know if, are you there? Oh, Julie.
I'm here. I'm here. Sorry, guys, I have myself muted.
Great. Do we have a question from anyone?
We do. I've got a bunch of questions coming in. There was some stuff, a lot of people were asking me, Rick, for a little bit more information on that depersonality. So I did post out a link with a little bit more info on that DISC testing and the different personality types.
Okay. Talk to your coach. Talk to your coach for sure on how that works. So
yeah, it's a pretty cool thing, and everybody can find out more about that.
Yeah. Just a sec, Julie. So everybody needs to do this. Reach out to your coach for more information on DISC testing. If you don't have a coach, then reach out to me, rick@craigproctor.com, and we can give you some insight on how this can really help you build your business. Very, very important. If you're not using the DISC personality test in your business or in your life, you're missing an important step in an important building block, because it's really cool stuff, and you'll really enjoy it. Sorry, Julie.
That's okay. Thanks, Rick. The first question, other than that, I have from Carol, and she's asking, can you use the hotlines if you're only doing internet advertising and not print advertising?
Okay, that's a great question, and I'm gonna say this. The answer is yes. Without question, the answer is yes. Now, for those of you who have been hardcore Craigslist marketers for leads over the past couple of years, you're all sitting there with your bottom lip out and your hands folded on your chest because Craigslist doesn't work anymore the way it did. In the last 3 months, as we all know, Craigslist has completely changed their lead generation format. And as you know, at Craigslist, we can no longer put any URLs in the ad. What Craigslist wants you to do with your ad is make it be about a house for sale and put your phone number in the ad. Well, guess what phone number you should put in the ad? Not your cell phone, not your office. You put your hotline number in the ad. Now, are you going to get as many leads calling your hotline from Craigslist as you used to get logging in? Probably not. I'm the first to say that people don't go online looking for a phone number to call. But if you want to stay with Craigslist and continue to use that free forum, because there's still lots of people going there, this is the answer. This is the answer. And to really answer your question, if you don't put a number in and test it, you'll never know how well it works. So I say put your hotline number in absolutely everything. The one place where I can pretty much guarantee you won't get a call into your hotline is when you run the free over-the-net home evaluation offer, because that doesn't make any sense. Okay? If it's over the net, people want a URL to dial into. But my answer is yes, test it, stick with the format that works, and you'll be happy with the results.
If I could just add to that, Craig teaches that, it's always good to have, multiple ways to get information to your prospect. You really don't want to alienate any prospect on how they decide to get information from you.
Correct.
A lot of the older generation prefers a telephone.
Yep.
And usually those are the people that have a lot of money. So, anything you run, and I would definitely say put your website, put your 800 toll-free number, and test it.
Yep, I agree.
Great. Thank you both very much. Next question I have for you, Rick. This is a little different question from Karen. How big is your just listed sign?
It's 4 feet by 2 feet. And it's the ugliest sign you ever saw. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
But it works.
Yep, I always use I always make cracks about it that planes sort of use it as a beacon to land at the airport. It's really big and it's really ugly, but you know what? It sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's what I want. It's yellow, it's basic, but you can't not see it when you drive down the street.
Perfect. Thank you.
Rick, here's another question, Rick, that I got here, which I think maybe we've answered. Do you actually put the price in on your script, on the hotline script? Do you actually mention the price of the home?
Never. Never put the price, never put bedrooms, never put square footage, never put any of that kind of boring technical data. Now, I get calls from people, messages left, that they're PO'd, that they didn't get the price. But you know what? Too bad. My hotline messaging is a system, and the system is designed to create leads. And for every
that's where the dial zero comes in handy, Rick. Right. When you just mentioned price, that's a great strategy where you can say in the script that for the current marketing or price of this home, dial zero now.
that's what we tell people.
That they dial 0. Pardon me?
Exactly. I was just getting to that. That's what we tell people.
Sorry.
If you'd like to find out the latest price for this property, press 0 now. You'll be connected to my office, and we'll give you that information. Now, that person hits 0, and guess who they're on the phone with? They're on the phone with me. And I'm really good at taking an inquiry on one of my listings and turning it into a face-to-face meeting with a prospective buyer. And guess what? They're not going to buy the house they called on. I can prove that. Over the years, hardly ever sold a house that somebody called on. You know, maybe a half a dozen times. But we've sold oodles, thousands of homes to people who've called and who were buyers. So that's what I want to do. I want to get in front of them as quickly as I can.
Before we take the next question, Rick, can you just flip to the next screen? I want to, for anyone that was at the Super Conference in Anaheim and didn't get a chance to take us on this opportunity with us, there is a last chance link that you can go to. Julie, if you can type that link into the chat section,
Yep,
all you need to do is go over there and click that link. It's automatedmarketingssolutions.com/last chance offer. And
yep.
there's a link, should be a link in your chat section there now. Once you go to the landing page, you'll see at the bottom of the page, there's a link that says, yes, I want to take advantage of the Craig Proctor Super Conference special.
And there
on your screen, you'll see what it will look like. You decide what package. These are the packages that we actually offered and presented at the conference. So for whatever reason, you didn't get a chance to get in on it, or you're too busy, or you're overwhelmed at that time, here's a second chance that you can just sign up now and get that 30-day free trial. It's risk-free. I just thought I want to let you guys know the ones that we got most of the people that attended the event, and but for the ones that didn't, for whatever reason, here's your second chance. Just click the link or call our number, 1-800-858-8889. That's our general number. Julie, if you can type in the number as well in the chat box, that would be pretty cool. So let's, if you can just keep that screen up, that would be great, Julie or Rick, and let's take on the next question.
All right, I have another question here from Daniel about what happens if you're new and you don't have listings? Do you need to have the USP property tree?
Well, the USP property tree was designed for listings for sure, but you're about to embark on a marketing strategy that's going to bring you a collection of prospective sellers. So, you know, you can wait, I guess. I guess you could wait and get the property tree up and running when you get a listing. But when I get a listing, there's a lot of things happen, one of which is my hotline is immediately attached to the listing. So if you're planning on looking for sellers, if you're planning on bringing listings on, without question, you need a USP property tree if you want to do this right.
Great, thank you, Rick. I think we've answered most of the questions in here. I'm not sure what you guys want to do, how we're doing for time.
I see another question there, Julie, about a transcript of Rick's script. Are we able to get that sent over to him as well? One person was asking if they can get the transcript.
Yes, and I've had people pop in a question to request it, and I've got a list here of a bunch of people that, we're going to send that off to you. And again, if you didn't put it in, you can pop it in the question box. Just pop in your email address, and we can get you a copy of that transcript of what Rick does, and so you can go ahead and replicate that.
And the other thing too, I'll encourage everybody is, really utilize your coach when you're trying to get this working. Your coach has a lot of experience with your hotline, and if you don't have a coach, if you're just starting off with our system, maybe you're working with me in the inner circle, then reach out to me, rick@craigproctor.com. My pleasure to help you. My pleasure to give you some guidance on what to do with this technology and really get it humming in your business. I'll tell you, once you get it going, you'll never want to exist or work without this technology. That's what I say. Mike, I call it the freedom machine, the AMS freedom machine, because it does free up my time. It lets my system take the calls that I normally would have to sit and take all day long. All I have to do is, when the messages come in, follow up on them, and create the face-to-face appointments. And I want everybody to get really good at this so their income goes through the roof.
Can we flip that last screen, Rick, to the last screen on the PowerPoint so everyone can see the information?
You betcha.
Again, as Rick said, we've had members of over 17 years use our hotline technology. They will not give it up. It's a good quality lead. And yeah, there is the screen back up there again. There's the link to the last chance offer. And Rick, why don't you just talk a little bit about the next super conference that Craig is hosting?
Yeah, for those of you on the East Coast, in May, I think it's May 9th, we're going to do a 2-day event in Arlington, Virginia. If you haven't registered for that yet, you really should. I mean, I know the information we present on this call is really good for you. It's really relevant. It makes a lot of sense. But if you're really interested to see how Craig's program can make wholesale changes in your business, we want you to come. We absolutely want you to come to our next super conference. There's some information at craigproctor.com on the next upcoming event. We'll also do one in August for you in the north in Canada in Toronto. And then in September, we're going to do an event back in Anaheim at the Marriott there in September. And then I just got wind that we're going to do a small event, a small day-and-a-half seminar in San Francisco later on this year. I just don't know the dates. Lots of opportunity coming up that you as a working real estate agent can take advantage of. And if you have any questions about that, if you have any concerns, if you need more of an explanation as to what it's all about, just reach out to me. I've been working with Craig now for the better part of 10 years. I can give you a really good overview of how the program works. I can talk to you a little bit about the price. Maybe we can find a way to make the price work for you, whatever it is. But reach out to me, rick@craigproctor.com, and we'd love to see you at one of our upcoming events for sure.
A couple of other resources that's going to help everyone on the call today too, Rick. We're going to be hosting a couple other webinars in the next 2 weeks. We're going to actually have a hot seat call where we're going to have 2 or 3 members from the existing group from Anaheim, or possibly the event before that, come on and really tell us how well they're doing with the hotline, what they did. So I'm going to really, ask them questions, and they're going to answer on how they generated leads and how they're changing their life using the hotline technology. So that'll be a really good call. We usually get a lot of people that call. And again, these people are not superstars or coaches or platinum members. These are guys that just started, went to the conference, and implement the strategies and marketing that Craig and Rick has taught you. So that should be a great call. We also have another separate call, Rick and I, where we just get into the weeds of a grade A lead, and we really show you how to generate those leads. We did a summary today, but we really nailed down, get in there exactly what to do, what to run, how to follow up. So that'll be another call in about in the next 2 weeks. And anyone that's interested to be invited, just type in yes, register me in the chat box to the right, and we'll make sure that you'll get an invitation to the webinar. So Julie, no more other questions?
I think we've wrapped everything up here, and just want to make sure we're good on time. So we will, anything else that's not here, we'll follow up with people individually. And I think that's it from my end.
Well, great. We're 8 minutes past the hour, a little over time. We really appreciate everyone for joining us on the call today. And Julie did a great job moderating the call. Thank you very much. And Rick, thank you once again for coming on and helping us on this call. I know you're a very busy guy with your feet back in Arizona, and really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Mike. Great to be here.
Take care, everyone, and happy
Thanks,
marketing.
Rick.
Bye for now.